Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get Better, a show about two longtime friends trying their best, growing up, and hopefully getting better. I'm Zach Johnson.
And I'm Sam Cherry. And I'm
Hello.
and looking. No news. November 3rd and... Nope.
No, it's, by the time they hear this, it is November... It's November 11th when they hear this.
In fact, it's November 4th, so it's not even November 3rd. But still,
not even November 3rd. But yeah, no news, nothing to speak of.
Nope, no news, nothing. Nothing's happening in the world. So
let's
do some goof 'em ups, I guess. We'll just do a couple.
Let's do regular old goof 'em ups. I mean, like there was the moon announcement that came through,
and
which
I was right.
That,
it was water.
That the moon just has water on it, which I didn't like the way that they said it. Like it said moon's wet. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. That was some intern was like, guys, it'll get on trending, I promise.
And it did, but also like, come on, guys, do better.
Get better. Listen to Get
better. And stop trying to trigger Ben Shapiro. Actually, I take that back. Always try to trigger Ben Shapiro.
Yeah. So I just looked up moon's wet, and I got a wet moon, which is a visual phenomenon when the horns of the crescent moon point up at an angle away from the horizon, so the crescent takes on the appearance of a bow or a smile.
Huh.
I would have loved to just call that as like a smile moon or like a Cheshire cat, but nope, you can know it forever that is called a wet moon.
Wet moon. Someone's already said wet ass planet, right?
Someone has had to have, I mean,
Wet
I think
planet is just like right there.
I think every single iteration of WAP has been done.
Probably before the news came out, they had wet ass planet.
Yeah, exactly. They had that. They actually, they bought wetassplanet.com.
Just in the chamber.
Yeah, even though the moon's not a planet, they're waiting.
What am I gonna say, planetoid? I'm not a fucking nerd.
That they bought that one too. Moon, wet ass planetoid. Actually, the moon's a satellite.
See, that's how you sound. That's how you sound when you say that. That's why I said wet ass planet, because I'm cool.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was like a rad way to say it. It was like I didn't care about the news, and then I was like, hold on, what'd you say? Oh, it's a planet.
Planet. How you doing?
I am doing well. It is, it's bloody daylight savings time. Am I right? It's like it's getting darker earlier. It's bright when I wake up. It's like, man, it's like I don't even get it. I get on some contextual level that's about farmers, I think, but like who got that extra hour of sleep and now it's like dark all the time, man.
What's the deal? It's funny actually. That is something that like working from home. I mean, I know that I'll just eventually get used to this, but it's 5 o'clock and it's night, and I'm like, oh, cool, I'm going to bed in an hour, and it's like, nah, dude, it's not like. It's like way earlier than you think it is, and so it makes the nights feel a lot longer. But that's some boring shit. So no, I think we have to we've been doing a lot of really high concept like script doctor things. Oh,
I think
remembered.
if we one time when you and I were talking about, I think one of the concepts of this show was just kind of wondering what people talk about.
That's true.
And I've seen that's what people are talking about. They're just like, it's bloody, it's dark earlier. So, I mean, like maybe we just like kind of do that for a bit and like get on a build a rapport with the audience, and then we'll hit them with the weird shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one's pretty weird. So I Owl House came out on Disney Plus.
Owl City is the name of the band. It's actually Owl City.
Fireflies.
Yeah, so
it's Fireflies. The sequel to Firefly.
I just need to get into your ear really quick that I have some breaking news, which is at Indie from Space tweeted, because it's 2020, the moon is officially a WAP, wet astronomical phenomenon.
Sucks. Way worse than wet ass planet.
Yeah. But I mean, it's, as I said before, you have to assume that someone else already said wet ass planet. So you have to like throw it in. I think
You can always
some
just
of the,
not tweet. It's always an option just to not tweet. You don't have to.
I mean, but here's the thing. I found this. I found this tweet, and so we're talking about him. I'm giving at Indy from Space. I'm giving him free publicity for that tweet. So like,
People talk about Nuremberg too. Like it's not always good.
I think he's kind of won. I think that he's got us. So
That sucks.
Anyway,
Owl House is good. Turns out it's like spooky in all the cool ways. I really enjoy it.
oh, Owl House, the one of the recommendation stations.
One of the ones that I was like, I don't know if this is good. I've just seen some of the imagery and it looks good, and I trust kind of Disney to make quality television. So it was a soft recommendation. And now it's fully, it's a great show. It's really cool. It's creepy and weird, and also a lot of fun. It's got a lot of Gravity Falls vibes. I think I'm really gonna fall in love with it as a television show.
While you were telling me about that, I was looking up Guardians of Ga'Hoole,
Okay.
the fantasy book series, and also the movie made by Zack Snyder, where it is about a bunch of owls.
Oh, the owl movie, yeah.
The owl movie, yeah. So as you were saying Owl House, I was like, if I remember correctly, there was this time back in 2010 when Zack Snyder was like, owls are going to be really hot.
That's true.
There's going to be like one animal for every generation, and he was like, I think it was owls at that point, because you still see kind of owl merchandise around. Like people like the look of them because they look kind of like aliens.
Yeah.
And I think he was really trying to cash in on that. Looking at this poster, I can see like every single owl made from the studio that brought you Happy Feet is on the poster, which leads me to believe that it's like, I know the studio is like, who is the studio actually? Warner Brothers. But saying it's the studio that brought you Happy Feet makes it seem like it is a studio that exclusively brings you animated bird movies. Like they also made Rio.
Yeah, this is some sort of semi-documentary, which of course it is not. It is like they have like helmets and they fight wars.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you see the helmet at the bottom of the... It's like a fantasy series.
Oh, no. Not only do I know about... I read the books, sir.
Oh, well, then I was just pulling that out of my ass. Did they fight wars?
Well, other people were reading Harry Potter and relating to each other. I was being unnecessarily contrarian, which I think was... That's actually one of the alternative names for this podcast. And I was reading Guardians of Ga'Hoole because I wanted to have my own series.
You know, one of my neighbors, she used to read Redwall, the one where it's like Lord of the Rings, but they're mice.
Okay.
That's another thing. I didn't know if you had also read that one as well.
No, I hadn't, but I read The Secrets of Nymph. That was kind of how I got into this sort of mouse-based.
Secrets of Nim, but sure.
I think it's Secrets of...
Not Nymph.
It is... It seems like...
Not Nymph.
I think there's a P in there.
They did make a movie about it, and they do call it The Secrets of Nim. It's a Don Bluth film. And I don't think there's a P in it.
Okay, well, I mean, who's to say? I can't find it anywhere, but...
Secret. The Secret of N-I-M-H. Secret of Nim.
I think The Secret is actually like one of those books that guys come out with, and it's like a player's handbook.
I'm sorry, what? No, The Secret is a real book that's like the Oprah book where it's you make a dream board and then it happens.
Oh, okay. So this is the prequel to Rats of Nim?
Okay, I'm sorry. So first they wrote The Secret about manifesting your like vacation or whatever. Then they made this. It was like a sub thing. Like you said, like the player's handbook, where they're like, okay, now here's some side adventures, right? So you've got your main, you got your DM. So here's what you got. You got the game. That is your DM guide. Yeah. Then you've got the secret, and that's your player's guide, right? And then when your little adventures, the conclusion,
it's the cool. By Lupe Fiasco.
The cool is, so that is actually the monster manual where they go through all of the monsters that are plaguing modern day society. Like
because they are dangerous, but they're also pretty cool.
Hey, the monsters, pretty cool. Anyway, so then there's a side adventure called The Secret of Nim where you play as rat people. And you're trying to pick each other up. I don't really know. But with the game, it's
This sounds like a boring ass Dungeons and Dragons if it's just about you putting things on your vision board, but like Secrets of Nim is just you putting things on your vision board, but you're also a mouse.
Yo, have
like,
you seen
like,
that movie though? It's fucking rad.
I don't think I've seen The Secrets of Nim.
Spooky. The thing about Don Bluth,
I feel like I've read the book, but
I don't know that there is a book.
There is a book. It's called Miss Frisbee and the Rats of Nim.
Oh,
You can.
okay, but it's the thing about the rats that they can
changed
talk.
to Miss Brisby.
Miss Brisby,
which
yes,
is-
of course.
Oh, because of concerns about frisbee discs. You know, the frisbee lobbyists that are always trying to get at you.
Concerns.
They're always suing, always trying to protect their IP.
So is Frisbee like a
Yeah.
Kleenex thing where like there's a brand called Frisbee and then we just call them all Frisbees?
I think maybe because I think it's just like a discus.
Oh yeah, because this says flying disc on the actual Frisbee. Go
Yeah.
figure.
So,
Anyway,
look at that.
yeah. So no, the movie's very good.
Shout out to Frisbee for just
So wait a minute. You've read the Owl books and you've read the Secret of Nim book, but you haven't read the Redwall books.
I have not, nor have I even heard of the Redwall books.
Redwall novel series. Is this what I'm remembering? How the fuck does anyone remember anything? I probably have not seen one of these books in like 20 years. And I'm only 27. And I remember these books that my friend read.
I'll tell you something that I thought, like, because you said how do people remember things.
I did say that.
So here's a fun little recommendation station. It's extra fun if you have kids because the content
Which you know that I have
as
several.
an adult is like unbearable. Matthew McConaughey
Okay.
is in a podcast series about Hank the Cowdog.
Nope.
And Hank the Cowdog is a series of books that my library had, and they were all worth a certain amount of points in like the accelerated reader program.
This looks
And
familiar.
These books that was like back in the days of school when they were trying to get everyone to read by attaching a point system to it.
AR
and
points. Yeah, we all know.
AR points. Yeah, it was like, and you could get prizes and things for reading, which I thought was always fun because.
Boring.
Well, it was fun because you had this really weird way of toting things over people. Because like back in the 90s when you and I were growing up,
Sure.
there was like there's always like new ways to experience education. I think that way was attaching like just like weird value to things. Like me as a fourth grader saying I could read at a seventh grade level was like to me a huge flex. Which is absurd.
You know,
like to be like, the word taught, I know what that means. And it was, or like juxtaposition, I know what that means. And then just like being so cocky off of that, by the time you're in like seventh grade, it's like, I'm reading at 10th grade level. It's like, what is a 10th grade level?
Right.
Like, what is that even? Like, what quantifies like a 10th grade level? Like, it's basically just like how many words do you know? Not like do you emotionally understand this concept or do you emotionally understand the stakes that are happening?
I see what you're saying.
Because like even for kids' books, like as an adult you're reading them, it's like, oh, I'm understanding there's like some extra concepts happening here, but I don't think that they did not quantify that.
Well, because at the end of the day, like what you're saying is like I didn't get bored during this book and I just kept reading it. Like you read, you know what I'm saying? Like a 12th grade level, like the idea would be it's a harder book to read, but like once you get past stage 1 of I know how to read, it's all just endurance after that. It's like, can you stay awake and keep reading this? Like it's not like a I mean, sure, there's stuff that's like challenging.
Maybe they attach higher values for like whacker books.
Yeah, if you read Infinite Jest, you're good.
Like War and Peace
Sure.
or Catch 22. It's just like, oof, this is like a 8th level intellect. That's like
I would say I would not put Catch 22 in there. That book is fun and silly. I would say that it is not a. I don't know. I've never read War and Peace.
But here's the thing: Catch 22 is, and for those that haven't read Catch 22, it's great. It's a Pulitzer Prize-winning book.
Super good.
It's about these people on a base, and it's a rip-roaring good time. But it is so long and so intentionally meandering that it is to read through that entire book is like
I see what you're saying.
It's a whole thing.
Well, it's one of those where you need to set your expectations. Like if you're gonna read Catch 22, it's kind of like Catcher in the Rye, which is a very easy read. Just be like, look, this is a bunch of vignettes about a connected theme. But this is not a plot. There's a plot, but
that
not
going in. Yeah, true story. I was in a book club and I suggested that book, and after I suggested it and no one read it, I was revoked from choosing books.
Damn, you fucked up that bad. I mean, that's a big book.
It's a big book.
How old were you?
And my main selling point was that it won a Pulitzer Prize. So I was like, you don't win a Pulitzer Prize just like dicking around. The same thing with Old Man in the Sea by Ernest Hemingway.
That one's tough.
A book that I read 3 times when I was assigned to read it in high school. And each time I read it, I went, I am clearly too dumb for this.
Dude, I read it in college and I was like, I don't get it at all.
That's it. There's no other way, because this is a Pulitzer Prize winning book.
Right.
They don't just give those away. So either this book is boring, meandering, and generally pointless, or I'm dumb.
I think that's a good North Star.
I must be dumb.
Like there's certainly like good arguments against canon as far as like, you know, books go. Like I think there are fine arguments for that, or fine arguments against that. But like, shit, dude. Like I don't know. It's like I don't know. This book's famous and everyone tells me it's good. I probably just don't get it. The same with Catcher in the Rye, which I learned to love. But I finished Catcher in the Rye and I was like, okay. And then after hearing like smart people explain what's good about the book and reflecting on it after a while, it was like, okay, I guess I see what's good about this book. It's not an enjoyable read, I don't think. But again, so much of things is about your expectations going in. Everything needs to have like a sticker on the front that's like set of vignettes and connected themes. It's like, oh, cool. I'm going to really enjoy this book way different if I'm not a third of the way through. Like, so is he going to date this girl in his hotel room or like what? And it's like, oh no, she's never coming back. It's like, oh, okay.
My rather like as the thing you said is like knowing about Catch 22 and like acceptance of it was, as I was reading through it, I was like, oh, this is like The Simpsons, where you like get introduced to a bunch of characters in a confined in a town in this like on this base.
Oh, Catch 22.
And the rest and the rest of the book is just like, hey, these characters haven't met yet. Let's introduce them and see kind of what happens. And I was like, oh, that's like The Simpsons.
Well, it's funny. Like Major is like funny. Like that's a funny chapter. Like,
no, yeah, I know. I think because it took me a long time to get into like what is happening. Like, who are these people?
Yeah.
Like what are the stakes? What's going on? And
but once you get it, then you're like, oh,
yeah. Once I was like, oh, this is like that episode of The Simpsons, 22 short stories about Springfield. It's just like a bunch of stories that are like funny.
Well, and like it's if you have a certain sense of humor, like a kind of, you know, Curb Your Enthusiasm kind of style, where it's like this is not about, you know, like where the guy he's on the plane, he's not on the plane. Importantly, he's not on the plane, but he's on the flight log. But he doesn't get on the plane, and then the plane crashes, and then they're like, and he's trying to get sent back home to America, and they're like, sorry, you're dead. And he's like, I'm not dead, I'm right here. And he's like, no, you were on that plane, the plane crashed and everyone died. And it's like, but I wasn't on the plane. It's like, well, the flight log says you're on the plane. So I mean, we can't do anything about it. We can't put you on the plane.
Bureaucracy, am I right?
But that's fun. But like that whole
small
shit
government,
is so
that's
funny.
The way to go.
I mean, that's the whole book is Catch 22s. Like that's the whole bit is just like shit happens and then you just kind of have or like Major. His whole deal is like, he's like, oh, if I'm in, tell everybody I'm busy and I'm not available right now. Oh, when will you be available? Well, if someone needs me and they do need to see me right now, let me know first and I'll climb out the window. And then and they're like, okay, so the only time you're available is when you're not available? It's like, yes. And like, obviously the book is written and it's much funnier than that, but like, that's the fucking book. It's just a bunch of those over and over and over again. And then like some sad bits thrown in, but like, that's basically, oh, my wife brought me bibimbap. Nope. She brought me gnocchi. Thank you.
You are consistently eating like,
well, we record during dinner.
No, not say, like, but the things you're eating are great. You know, like you're eating
phenomenal cook.
Yeah, like you're eating like really like the bibimbap, which I would argue is like pretty difficult to put together. Like if you're not familiar with it, And like, you know, like whatever you're eating now, like that's a great dish.
She is like, it's not just because I don't just say this because she's my wife. Like, she is a objectively a good chef. Like, she's just super good at cooking. I like consistently have food that I'm like, yeah, this is better than food I eat at restaurants. Like, this is like just, you know, she's a really
that's
good,
really funny.
She's like
I
no joke
was just thinking, I was like, oh, like, and Sam's eating this, so he must be a good cook. And then I remember we have an episode where you like fuck up rice so heavily, like
no, I don't
like in a way that it's like rice is one of those like back burner like sort of things where you're just like, oh, I'm making rice. It mostly does itself, but you made it into a very active process.
Yeah, I made it so bad. I was also like recording a podcast while cooking dinner, so that made it more difficult. I had to hold a microphone the whole time.
That was during our Sergeant Pepper's phase. That was when we were being really experimental with the kind of content we were putting out.
Yeah, what we did is we actually took. Have I ever told you so? John Lennon one time, he won. I don't know if I told the story on the podcast.
John Lennon, my
personal friend, John Lennon, he was like, they were getting really experimental about all of their music or whatever and doing really weird things. And he went to, not George Harrison, who's the producer, who's the fifth guy? George Martin.
George
Martin. And he's like, what I want you to do is hang me from the ceiling and suspend me from the ceiling and spin and like, what was it, like put everything on like wires or something and spin it around, or like spin me around while I sing into the microphone so that it's all like weird. And he just says this like insane contraption where like all the instruments are hanging in the air. And George Martin was like, what if we just record you and then we spin a speaker of that recording into the microphone? And he was like, all right, fine. But like that was John Lennon's idea, was like he wanted to like have the band elevate it just to record it. Like they would do shit like that all the time where they would have, George Martin was such a like amazing musician or musical producer because he would do all this crazy stuff for everyone, but also like the Beatles had such weird phases and he just knew how to like, you know, we're going to play this through an old tuba and then that's going to go out to a gramophone and it's going to record it and then it's going to give this like twinge of sound that makes it sound cool. Great musician.
I like the idea that in an alternate universe, it's like he's doing that thing where he's hanging himself up from a thing and spinning him around and everything, and then someone walks in, sees it, grabs the phone, and goes. He grabs one and says, "It's your cousin, Marvin."
I got that sound you're looking for.
Marvin Angel, I got that new trick you're looking for. Listen to this. And that's Chris Angel's great uncle.
Oh.
Yeah, I was thinking of a Chris Angel thing where it's like he or David Blaine, one of those two.
You know,
Did you see that thing where David Blaine put himself on a bunch of balloons and we were so wrapped up in the pandemic
oh my God.
that we were just like, fuck that. Like we're kind of on our own sort of thing right now. Like,
and it wasn't even like a big deal. He just did it for like to do. Like he just did an up and then was like, that's it. I'm up. And it's like, what, dude? It like wasn't even like a big event. Just like
yeah, exactly. Like that's kind of his whole thing. There's one time
so
like he's the wildest boy. Just in terms of like, he really is like the Tom Cruise of magic tricks,
right?
Where it's way less about the trick. Like I could have come up with that shit
anymore.
Exactly. No,
like,
I could have come up with balloon, or I could have come up with, hey, let me hold my breath for like a hella long time, or let me put myself in ice, or let me stand on this pole for days.
And you used to live with the magician.
I used to live with the magician. Yeah. And that was really fun. Well, because I would ask him, I would be like, hey, how did David Blaine do that? And he would go, David Blaine just did that. That's it. There's no trick. He just did it. Like when he says he swallowed a frog, he swallowed a frog. Like there's a frog in his stomach. Yeah. And then it's just like,
they're illusions, Dad.
Isn't that, I don't know, like maybe like some animal rights organization would get on some about that? You're like, yeah, probably.
Yeah, they probably did.
Like, all right. Yeah. But at the same time, I would have been like, it's a trick or what. Like I would have been like, magic, and I can't tell you why. And then I'd secretly walk off and I would pull my assistant to the side and be like, don't tell them that I ate that frog. Like tell them it was mirrors or something.
I told you about that party where I ate a goldfish, right?
You may have told me, but I don't think you've told our lovely audience. I don't.
Story.
Okay, well then they will just that will just be our arc, our series arc, our one-armed man that keeps us going through this entire podcast. Is the people where people hear that and they go, huh, what? And then
What?
we just kind of, and then it's like, well, we're not going to talk about that anymore. We're going to talk about some other bullshit.
Yeah.
We hang that in front of them like a tasty looking goldfish. We put it in front of the audience. They say, don't you want this? And then we throw it right back in the bowl and go, nah. You don't get that goldfish story.
You have to earn it.
No, I used to live with a magician. It was a fun time.
Price magic.
Yeah, he would show me to do magic tricks, and it was it's mostly I would say magic.
The guild's gonna be mad at you if you explain some of his tricks.
No, I'm not gonna explain any of his tricks. I'm just gonna say it's
the league.
It's mostly I'd say it's mostly angles and then so much practice. Like I think if they had just up and said, like I think if they even told you what they did, people would still be like, "Oh shit, wow, that was really difficult." It's like, yeah, I worked on this for several years, and it's like, oh, cool.
Well, that's the prestige thing, right? I mean, that's the whole thing.
It's like that's tight, man. That's cool as hell, and it's just like, yeah. Anyway, and that's how I did it, and it's like I think like even if there was like a afterward where like the curtains go down, they come back up and go, "Here's how I did it." People would still be like, "Whoa, that's pretty wild."
You just ate that fucking frog, huh?
He said that, damn, son, no shit. All right, well, that's, man, there's.
Wow. I passed out at a magic show once. Did I?
Was it because you ate that? It was because you ate that goldfish.
No, it wasn't. That was an unrelated story. But one time, that maze guy came to.
That's who that my roommate works for. Yeah.
So Mazes came to.
Mazes.
Western. It's Maze, right? The Maze.
Yeah, it's Maze. Yeah.
So Mazes comes to Western, and
you're saying Mazes.
I fucking say the comedy show.
I
don't even understand why it's a joke, but I'm just saying it funny.
Yeah.
The Mazes
one
comes
of the pillars of comedy.
So the Mazes comes to school, and like, I'm like, okay, I'll go to this shit. For some reason, I was by myself. I don't remember why this happened. But I was. And I was watching a magic show, and it was fine. And then the second half, he was like, okay, I'm just going to be straight up with you guys. The second half of this is where I tell you about my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So if you're not into that, no hard feelings, but that's what the rest of the show is. And it was like, okay, well, fine, whatever. I'll watch this.
Yeah, he gave you the out, which is
he did, which he was very serious. He was very like genuine about it to everyone in the audience. He's like, "We're gonna do maybe some more tricks, but like those were the tricks. Now I'm gonna tell you my personal testimony about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ." I was like, "Oh, okay." So he starts the second half of the show, and then proceeds to tell like a 15-minute story that, in my recollection, was full of gory details about him getting like a blood transfusion or like a bone marrow transfusion.
Yeah. Oh, we were at the same show. Weird that we didn't go together.
Yeah, I remember where I was sitting. Like I could go there today and be like, oh, that was the seat, because I remember so clearly.
You always remember where you pass out.
Yeah,
that's one of the rules in life. Is if you pass out, you know, it's like
it feels like it should be the opposite, forever. But I do very much remember this. And so anyway, he just goes into this like gory detail about whatever condition he had. And so a thing about me that of course Zach knows, but the listeners don't know, is that I have a like social anxiety disorder, and I get sick when I'm really anxious. And so it sort of started feeling like that, where I was like, and this was like years and years ago, I didn't really have a full grip on it. I didn't totally know, because it started like my junior year of high school. This is freshman year of college. So I didn't really understand what was happening. Whereas by senior year, I was like, oh, I know this feeling. I know what's going on. I have a better control of this. So I'm just like, at this point, I'm like, sometimes I get sick and I don't know why. And I'm feeling that. And
anyway.
Yeah, well, fucking whatever. I gotta like go live my life. And anyway, so this is time period where I'm like starting to feel nauseous, and I'm like, this is weird. I feel like I'm going to throw up. I connect the dots later, like, oh, this. So then he's just going into this like gory detail about his bone marrow transfusion and how painful it was and how horrible it was. I think this is what I remember. And then I stood up and I was like, and I could feel my senses like knocking out, like where it was like, oh, I can't really hear. Oh, I'm getting tunnel vision. Oh, and then I'm out of my chair because I thought I was going to barf. Like if I thought I was going to throw up or if I thought I was going to pass out, I probably would have just like got on my phone or something, stopped listening and like not. But I thought I was like, well, I'm going to barf. So I need to leave the room. So I stood up and started walking and just like made it straight out the doors and then collapsed into a wall. And cut to like 10 minutes later, I'm talking to the EMT and he's like, are you good? And I'm like, fuck, probably. And he's like, have you eaten today? And I was like, no. It's like 8:00 at night.
Yeah,
like, I had coffee.
Get off my back, Mom.
Well, and this is the fucking thing where he was like, well, you're carrying like a 40-pound backpack full of books for school and you haven't eaten. So like, that's probably why you passed out, which was true. But I also like, I wasn't going to have this conversation with this guy because like he's got a job and he's got shit to do and I wanted to go home. But it was just kind of like, I'm not doing that because it's like fun. You know what I mean? It was like, well, yeah, because I don't have any money or any time and I'm in class all day and they make me bring these books. So like, maybe you should ring your complaint up with someone higher up the chain. Like, I actually didn't decide.
Talk to Gary Ransdale.
Yeah,
got him.
I didn't decide to bring. I mean, I did, of course, I did. I decided to go to college and I decided to take those classes. But it was like, this is more of a like larger issue. But I didn't tell him that, and so I went down to the what was the store that had a nickname and it was a corner store. It wasn't. It was right across from Duck.
Oh,
pub? No. It was named after.
Crap.
Huh?
I said crap.
It was named after the dorm that it was like at the corner of Bait Shop.
Yeah.
It was at the corner of Bates and it was called the Bait Shop. So I went to the Bait Shop and I got like
funny
microwave meal.
that's really funny.
Yeah,
because it's like the bait shop,
like a bait, like where you would buy food.
That just dawned on me.
Well, there you go. Then they had that rebranding and they called it the Pod Store, where it's like,
oh
cool.
Yeah,
cool. This is what we need, more privatization. I mean that.
It was that was the same time they changed like Duck to DSU. We're just talking college talk right now, but anyway.
Yeah, well, no, but I would say that is a broader idea of like, what if we made it private? Like, oh, you mean like it was a broader way in which capitalism destroys culture. Whereas like Bait Shop, it's nice and it's fun and we like it and it's like a fun little nickname because also bait.
Yeah,
and then they're like
that we came up with.
We're really trying to like spread out our brand on a national level, so we're gonna call it the Pod Shop now. It's like, cool, thanks. Awesome. Now it's got a bunch of signs that say pod on it, which like is not inherently annoying, but like, or yeah, like Duck, where they were like, I think it was the president was like, not the president, but like Gary Ransdale, the president of the university, was like, well, I want to be more like U of L and UK, and they have student unions, and what is it, the Downing University Center, and we called it Duck, and everyone called it Duck, and that's what it was called, DUC, Duck. And then they were like, but the other schools are better at recruiting and they make more money and they have student centers. So this is going to be DSU now. It's the Downing Student. What's the U stand for?
Downing Student Union.
Union. They have student union. So, this thing that we've been calling Duck for 40 years and it's like, a part of the DNA of the place that makes it interesting and unique.
And it's like fun and it's just like...
And it's unique and it's yours and it's not... I mean, I've talked before, I'm sure, about like something deeply unsettling about the fact that you walk into any Walgreens in the country and they're all laid out exactly the same. Like, that is psychically upsetting. That is wrong and bad for people. Like, it's bad for people. Oh, yeah. That's not good.
Weird. I've never had that thought once in my life.
Oh, well, see, what had occurred to me is one time when I was in Bowling Green, there are two different Krogers on two different sides of town. And I was just in Kroger shopping. And usually I went to have I not told this story? Maybe.
I don't think so.
Well, usually I would go to the
We've
one.
never talked about Kroger. We don't try to get brand deals in this
Oh,
podcast.
fuck Kroger. Nah, they're fine. I would go to the one over by the hospital, but instead I was at the one over by the Cheddars? I don't know. Over by Living Hope. The other one. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
The other one. And I usually went to the hospital one, but I was over the one by Living Hope. And I was just finished my shopping and I was thinking about my day, and I walked out and I was so disoriented because while I was in Kroger, I just slipped into that groove and I'd forgotten what side of town I was on. And I walked out of there and was like, oh, holy shit, I'm like on the whole other side of town, but like because they are laid out exactly the same and I don't know the fucking cashiers, you know, it's like you just complete. And then I noticed it where you'd go into Walgreens or CVS or you go.
Do you know the cashiers in Kroger?
I know the cashiers in Publix.
Huh.
Well, I know cashiers
that's something about you that I think is really interesting, where it's like you have not. I mean, it's a character strength where it's like you always make a point to know the people who are working.
Well,
like when you tell stories about like bars you go to, like even like back into when we were like in college or like anything, like you always made a point to know like the people who were there. Yeah. And it's like that sort of ideology follows you to Publix.
Well, because they're working class and they're good people. But
yeah, no, I know. I'm not saying it's like, you know, I'm so high and mighty that I'm going to not know them. But it's just it's fun that that there is a relationship where just like they know I'm Sam, you know, and
right.
And like I know that they're blankety blank, and I think that will get you. Oddly enough, that empathy will get you like farther in life than other people, because if in the case that you need to, I was thinking about this. My girlfriend's brother has like a phone calling, like texting relationship with a butcher that works at Publix.
Oh, that's cool.
And it has like come up as a win for him so many times. Like,
right, I'm sure it has.
To be able to have like a butcher and be like, I'm outsourcing. Like, I don't know shit about this. Like, I'm outsourcing that to you, and we're gonna be friends. Like, I know you work here. I come in here, you know who I am. Like you're my butcher. Like in the same way, it's like you're my barber. Like we have a relationship now.
I think the thing is, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, is like, and I think Walgreens is a perfect example. What the trade-off you're giving is convenience, and in return, you're getting rid of like texture, I would say. Like any sort of texture in your life. Like, yeah, there's certainly something good about like if we were out west or something, or we were in, you know, Oregon and I needed ibuprofen and I saw Walgreens, it's nice to know like, oh, not only do I know they sell ibuprofen there and I know what that store is, I know how I can get it in 5 seconds because I know exactly where it is. But the trade-off is it smooths out like that sort of back and forth, that tension, that like not struggle, but like that sort of like the inconveniences of life are the things that make your life interesting and memorable, right? Because like if you just go to this, I mean, again, if I go to a Walgreens today, it looks exactly the same in every way, has the same products in the same places at the same thing as the one when I was a kid, where like literally it's the exact thing. And so there's this smoothing out of your life where like it's hard to place memories. It's hard to like fit where stuff is and when stuff was, because you don't have like, oh yeah, and then we lived on that street and the grocer was like this and it was like, and they never had this and it was all those things that make life interesting get smoothed out for the sake of convenience. And me personally, I think shit's pretty convenient already. Like I actually don't need, like, yeah, it's nice to know what the ibuprofen is, but like I'll fucking figure it out. You know what I mean? I'll figure out what the ibuprofen is. I would rather have a life that is like interesting and not completely smoothed over and planned out. I mean, if you go to like any small town in America, like there's this fucking myth of small town America that it's like, that's where all the folksy stuff is. And it's like, have you been to a small town? It is all just strip malls of chain stores that are everywhere in the country. Like any small town has become every small town because they all have the same 6 stores and 9 restaurants. And it's like and those corporations have smoothed out anything like making Pod Shop instead of the bait shop smoothed out. Any kid that has a pod shop at their college could walk into the pod shop at Western and find everything they need. And there's nothing interesting about it. It's just a transaction. And it's like, but something like Bait Shop or Duck is like, and I don't really give a shit about that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a broader thing about like modernity and corporate convenience that's like, sure, it makes it easier, but sometimes working through things is what makes them more interesting and more fun. Like that, the work is what gives your life like meaning and texture. And I'm not saying that like what gives your life meaning is not knowing what the ibuprofen is, because I'm not a fucking dummy. But you understand what I'm saying, that like everything being convenient is not actually better. Because like, I mean, yeah, if I had a feeding tube, I mean, again, like a voluntary, like, if I had a feeding tube and a hover, if I were the characters from Wall-E, that wouldn't be, it's the whole point of the movie. Like that actually wouldn't be better. Having all your convenience all the time is not better. That's why people like, hiking or not using their GPS. I mean, this is what I do. Is like, no, I'm not going to use my GPS. What I'm going to do is look on a map, see where it is.
Whoa.
I mean, look on a map on my phone. I'm not a fucking Luddite, but like, look on a map on my phone and then be like, oh, okay, I need to go this way, this way, this way. And if I'm 5 minutes late, who the fuck cares? Where do I gotta be? You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. And you know what? I know where all the fucking roads are, because I know a lot of people. This is the last thing I'll say, I promise. I know where all the fucking roads are, because there are people who all they do is look at their GPS. Their phone dies. They can't find shit. Now, I use my phone for directions, but I want to look at where it is and then just go there. And if it's like, oh, it's in, Brentwood, it's like, okay, well, I know how to get to Brentwood. I don't need a fucking phone to tell me where to get to Brentwood. And if my phone died, I could get anywhere, because it's like, well, I know the streets because I like drive them and I have to think. And I've taken 100 wrong turns because I am figuring it out myself. And no, I don't get there 1 minute before you do. But when the rubber meets the road, I know how to get there and you don't. So like, what did those minutes get you? And also, it was more interesting because I turned down this alley and saw a cool mural, or I turned down this alley and saw a bar that I've never seen before. And then I went there and it was like, oh, cool. And now that's your new favorite bar, because that you went to a place that you wouldn't go before, instead of like, no, I clicked this button and then that button and then I was here and then I was there and everything went perfectly well and was fine and it all looked the same. That shit sucks. Please stop me.
I think we have just become one of like an anti-entrepreneurial podcast.
Absolutely, that's what we are.
Yeah, where it's just like, instead of managing efficiency and like your war against sameness is such that you have created your own sort of like other community and like an anti that community, which is the get lost, use maps community.
Live your fucking life.
Which,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Don't be a weirdo.
Admirable.
No, because don't be weird. Because don't be like, I'm gonna go do bushwork in the woods. Like, okay, I mean, bushwork stuff is cool, but like, chill out. I'm not saying that, but if you've got a choice between, this is so simple, but also like actually what I'm saying. If you've got a choice between going to a chain restaurant and going to a local restaurant, go to the local restaurant.
Chain restaurant. Oh,
not like a restaurant made of chains.
Oh, no, I was just going to say chain restaurant because, you're going to get the same thing all the time. And it's like, what's good.
That sucks. It's the same thing everywhere, all the time. And like, again.
Who are you saying this to? Who is this against?
I don't know.
Who's on the receiving end of this microphone where you're just like, and fuck you, Chatters?
No, like, I don't know.
Rallies can suck it.
These businesses, because it sucks to go through.
I think
when you
have
drive
a lot of unresolved issues about individualism, especially when it comes to POD. Where it's like, I think that it like awakens something in you. Where like when we were talking about Bait Shop and then you said pod, you were just like, man,
Bait Shop
I was
so
telling
good.
this story about how I fainted at a magic show, and I'm gonna take a detour that I did not have a GPS for. I used my map, and I'm on this detour. I'm getting lost, but it's okay because I am an individual, unlike the pod shop.
It sucks. No, I mean, for real, I go on walks on it every day and I just take different routes. I used to, it's not about me. It's not important. I'm making this about me and that's not the fucking point. All I'm saying is that, like, there is a trade-off. People act as if convenience is always an efficiency is like is a solution. And it's like, well, no, it's not a solution, it's a trade-off. And sometimes those trade-offs are great and you should take them. But sometimes those trade-offs you should think about and say, well, yeah, this is easier, but easier to what end? Like, what problem am I trying to solve? Is the problem I'm trying to solve, never being late versus not knowing where anything is? Like, is that the trade-off I really care about making? Like, oh, I'm always on time to like meet my friends at a bar to have a beer. I'm 1 minute earlier than Sam, but I don't know where anything is. It's like, that's a shitty trade-off. Don't do that. Get me out of here.
No, it's fun because I use my GPS for everything because I have such a deep resentment of getting lost. That's like my sense of control is to, not be like lost or zipping around. I feel like the excitement that you share for it, I have a lot of dread. If I'm like going down a place that is unfamiliar to me, it is like, I'm not like, whoa, this is a really fun time. I am like, oh no, like I am super duper lost and I'm going to be late to this thing. And then if I'm late, then I'm going to get roasted because I'm late a lot of times to things. And
so you're saying you use a GPS and you're still late?
Yeah, because I'm bad at preparing to leave. It's like I do a bad job preparing to leave places. And and maybe I would say I'm on time more than I'm late, but I think it is, you can't say that you're an on-time person unless you're committed to your life to being on time every time, because that's like a promise that if you make, you only have to slip up once. And then it's like, you're going to be that one person who's a hypocrite forever. But anyway, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, yeah, no, I haven't even considered that to be a trade-off. Yeah, because I don't know where anything is. I'm so bad at directions. I feel like that sort of art of like old New York cab drivers who like know the entire roads is just like something that is completely lost on me because I don't know where anything is and I don't know how to get anywhere at all. And the mere idea of like trying to find it on a map before I go and then remembering that is like so daunting that I'm just like, forget it. That's just not who I'm going to be.
Well, and usually what I'll do is if it's in a place, because again, I can't like manifest where a building is. If it's like, oh, it's in Brentwood. Okay.
Not yet.
I'll just drive to Brentwood because I know how to get to Brentwood. And then when I get to Brentwood, turn directions on there. Because again, I'm driving the car and like I'm not going to remember every twist and turn, but it's like, let me get to that part of town. But what is good, what is helpful is, yeah, getting lost sucks. But then when you learn all those streets and you learn where everything is, you don't get lost anymore. And you never get lost. And you don't have to worry about your phone being charged. And you don't have to be, I'm not like, kids these days on their phones. Like, but really, you shouldn't be on your phone all the time. It sucks. It's not good for you. And everyone knows it. Like, everyone who's on their phone all the time knows that it makes them miserable. And being more and more dependent on a piece of technology doesn't make you happy. So, like, why don't you just, like, fucking learn this? And then, again, also, that's not even it. You go take walks and you find new restaurants. Like, that's where I find every restaurant I eat at, is I just walk around the neighborhood and I'm like, oh, cool. That place looks good. We should go there. Or like, oh, that bar. Now, again, not anymore because the world ended. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is like what makes this is what makes a community. This is what makes a neighborhood. Like, I know the people that live around the neighborhood because I see them all the time. And like, I know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know what bars are like this and what bars are like that and what restaurants are like this and that. And I know the area and it feels like a place. You aren't transient because that's the thing. There's no community. You're transient no matter where you go. No matter how long you live somewhere, you don't know anything because you go to fucking Cheddar's and Cheddar's is everywhere. Are you in Bowling Green? Are you in Louisville? Are you in Nashville? Are you in fucking Nantucket? You don't know because it's nowhere, because you aren't living in a city. You're going to you're going to Cheddar's. Like, you're going to a restaurant and that restaurant is its own space and that space exists anywhere, right? Like, Walgreens is just like Planet Walgreens that you go to and then you walk out of the doors and then you're back in Nashville because it is the exact same everywhere. And all those restaurants are the same everywhere. There's no texture. There's nothing personal. There's nothing actual about the place you live. And I think it just degrades your sense of living somewhere. I think it alienates and atomizes people to not connect with the place that they live. You must stop me.
No, I thought that was very profound. I quite enjoyed that about how if you're not in a community, you're transient, and I think that that's a very good way of looking at it. Where it like if you don't exist amongst the people there, then like who are you apart from just like a character in the background?
Well, you might as well just like pop into a different city. Who cares? Like you don't even really live there because you're not a part of the place that it is.
Yeah. It makes me think of like Sesame Street, where it's like all of the characters in Sesame Street, like it's like in this like ideal world where they all like know each other and help each other out. Sure. And that's just like, I think like a dream of the creators of like a community that's like, this is just a community. Like they all live on Sesame Street. Right. That's like, that is their unifying feature, where it's like Big Bird's a fucking bird and Oscar the Grouch lives in a trash can. And like all the like, Bert and Ernie, like they live in an apartment together, and like all these people, like they just have their only unifying factor is that they live on a street together. Yet they have like, instead of either thinking they're too good for it or they're like a transient and going to move away, they have like decided to make this place into their found family.
Well, and
it's just like we're gonna be like, our unifying factor is that we live on Sesame Street, and that is, in its own sort of way, our identity
and our distinguishing factor, right? Like it's not just these people live in this place. And again, I'm not saying like go knock on your fucking neighbor's door, because don't be weird. But
and also pandemic. So
oh yeah, of course, pandemic. But like your community is your community, and that's why I'm saying about local stuff is like those places aren't anywhere. Like the Flying Saucer, R.I.P. because it's still closed. And granted, again, I just said that. I know the Flying Saucer is a chain, but there's like five of them in the country, so like it's fucking fine. But okay, I'll give a different example. Like Heine Brothers in Nashville. It is in Louisville. There's 8 of them, but they're all in Louisville. Like it's a Louisville coffee shop, right? Like and each one of them is different. You know what I'm saying? Or Quills is a coffee shop, and like Quills is the coffee shop. That's the coffee shop that it is. And like being there is a place. And if you went to a different city, there'd be other places that are like it and that remind you of it, but you couldn't walk in and the exact same setup and the exact same benches and the exact same tables and the exact same menu and the same decorations and the same CDs on the front counter. Like, no, it's a unique place by unique people. And it's not just sort of, because I think that's what makes all those places, it seems, so miserable to work as well. Because the individuals that work at those places, like a Starbucks, they're not like individuals. They are just the meat part of this machine. Where it's like, we have a machine and we pick it up and we put it down in every single city. And then you're the meat part that needs to fit into it. So now do the thing that it's not an actual, like, it's not a community. You're an employee, but you're not like a person. And you're just fitting into this machine that needs to be completely cohesive all across the country, you know, and that's McDonald's. You think about, fast food, I understand why that's different, but really how different is, like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where, like, those places aren't real places. Like, they aren't. The difference between Spencer's and a Starbucks is just like, well, Spencer's is Spencer's. And, like, it has its own flair. And if it decided for 8 months to have a giant mural of a crow on the wall, it can do that.
Yeah.
And they don't have to call corporate. And if you went to a different coffee shop, sure as shit, there's not a giant mural of a crow. You know why? Because it's not like they didn't send out a memo for marketing that says we're all putting crow murals.
All coffee shops.
Yeah, like you're not going to see
report all coffee shops.
Yeah, you're not going to see on Twitter a trending thing about how all the Spencers around the country have giant crow murals now. No, because it's not online. It's you in your real life where you're standing right now in that real place that you are. This is happening to you in your life. And you're not just a part of, all of the Walgreens decided that now it's Christmas. So all across the country, everyone walks into Walgreens and, now it's Christmas decorations. No, because that's not a real place. I guess we're not doing Script Doctor because I
Yeah.
decided to talk about Bait Shop for an hour.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good topic of individualism, and just like I like the way you said Planet Walgreens, or it's even like you're stepping into a pocket dimension.
Yes,
like the
that's
Walgreens
exactly
dimension.
how it feels. Yes.
Yeah,
Because it's the same no
And,
matter where you go, and you're not in the place you're in. Now you're in the pocket dimension, and then you pop out.
I like that. I like that idea where it's like if you go into any place that is a fast food place, it's like I'm no longer in Louisville, like I'm no longer in Nashville, I'm no longer in like wherever the hell you are. Like you have stepped into another world. Like you've stepped into like the Walgreens dimension or the McDonald's dimension or the Starbucks dimension. And
Because if you did teleport, you wouldn't actually know the difference. Like if you walked into a Walgreens and it teleported you to a Walgreens in a different city, you would not know.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. That's bad for people.
Yeah, and so like the like one of like I guess a good takeaway from that is just like limit your time in those spaces. I mean, obviously you have to go to like
you got
to shop or Publix or whatever, and like you have to get medicine and what have you.
Well, there aren't like regular grocery stores anymore, so like again, don't be weird. Like if you gotta, I shop at Publix. Like it's a fucking Publix. It's everywhere. You know what I mean? Whatever.
Yeah, whoa, shop at a Publix. Wow.
That's close.
And it's funny because like some of the more like some of the places that are like I'm thinking I shop at a Trader Joe's and they hit you over the head with like their individualism and like all the cashiers are like they're people that I know. They're like it's like, oh hey, like I at the very least I recognize all of them.
Right.
And I know like because if I go to Trader Joe's on like Fridays and it's like, oh, this is the Friday staff. Like I know that because I'm in here every Friday.
Right.
And they are constantly like asserting their like individualism where like I'll see the employees like talking to people in the alley or like the alleys. The
aisles,
the inside alleyways, and like
streets.
like they make community, and that's like a way to like it's one a way to like drum up business, but also more importantly, it's a way to just like facilitate community in that it's like, hey, like you're a person here, like you're not like when you walk into like a Walgreens, as you'd said, like you kind of lose your place in like the world, but you also you lose your individualism.
And so do all the employees.
Yeah, it's like you are not like I am not Zach and you are not Sam. Like you are like 24601 or whatever the hell. Like you become like a number or like a mark. And
you're a customer, they're an employee.
Yeah, like and the more and to differentiate the divide between like the working class and whatever is just to like it give validity to like someone who is opening a space for you. It's like I'm working at this bar and like for all intents and purposes, if I'm behind the bar, I'm the person, I'm the owner of this place. Like I'm the tavern keeper. And like
it was like Jimmy at Rocky's. Like I knew Jimmy.
It's like I'm welcoming you into my home.
Right.
This is my house, and like I'll protect you. I'll make sure you're okay, and like I'll whatever you want, as long as it's in my power. Like you're in my house, and like accepting is that way. Where it's like if you go to like fucking Buffalo Wild Wings, it's like who cares who you are?
Yeah.
Like you're bleep blorb, and you're cheering for the Washington not racist names anymore. You're just a commodity.
Right.
And so, yeah, like I think both you and I have a very similar disposition on like supporting local, but I think it's like supporting local is almost kind of like it's saying supporting local and like having that mindset kind of divorces you from the reason why we need to support local.
Right.
It's like when you just say support local, it's almost like it's like these poor sons of bitches. Like
you're doing them a
help.
favor, and it's like no.
Yeah, I'm doing you a favor. Like I have to buy something because otherwise, like it's my money that's keeping you around. But it's just like quite the contrary. Like there is a trade off. It's like you coming here increases your identity and your ability to be a person in the place that you live,
and to remember years of your life. Like because then. If you move somewhere else or you start going to different places, like, remember when I used to shop at whatever? Remember when we used to eat at yada yada? No one's gonna be like, remember when we used to eat at Buffalo Wild Wings? Like, you mean the thing you still do because there's one in every town?
Yeah,
Like, there's
yeah.
nothing. There's no divide.
Yeah, and it's you might as well. Yeah, I do like the idea. Like you just teleport somewhere, you just teleport anywhere else. It's
Right.
like you walk into one of those places, and you might as well be in like Timbuktu,
And nothing
or
stops
like,
and nothing ends. That's the other thing I'm saying. Is like nothing ends. Like it wasn't. I didn't grow up with a corner drugstore and like, oh, I remember the guy. And even if I don't, it's not even about knowing the employees, but like, oh, the corner drugstore, and it was like this, and it smelled really weird, and they always had these little. No, it's a fucking Walgreens, and I go to Walgreens still. It's like there's no divide. There's no like, oh, when I was a kid, we had this place, because every place is everywhere, and every place you will go to until the day that you die. Like there's no, your town is not a town. Your town is just a suburb that hasn't gotten big enough to join with the other suburbs. You know what I'm saying? Like your town is nowhere. It's just quote unquote it's just what I'm describing is culture. Also, I did say I called the bartender Jimmy when his name is Timmy, which undercuts my point a little bit. But I didn't want astute listeners to catch that and be like, didn't you say his name was Timmy last time? His name is Timmy. I said Jimmy. Yeah, and that's on me.
So in conclusion, support local. You know, they need it. They need help.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, that's all the things. No, I think that's really good. Yeah, like, you know, just I'd never thought of it that way. Like, I mean, I've always been the person. I think I am at my stance on it was like more a war of consumerism, in that I was like, I'm not going to be the dude like that goes to like this corporate location,
right?
Because that's not like, that's fake, man, and I'm real, man.
But yes, and I think like you can do both. Like,
yeah, you can do both. But like, I mean, like for lack of being like too greeting cardy, like hate of something can only get you so far. Like you can hate something, but what you're gonna do is like you may just find yourself resentful because
and when you're not angry, it'll go away.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you don't care anymore.
And like if in the case that like I have like kiddos and I'm taking them to like McDonald's or Hardee's or like whatever, and it's just like, oh, it's convenient and whatever, and like it's like I'm doing it because I lost my hatred of like that place, but what I didn't gain was like a love of place,
right?
And being able to celebrate that with like someone else, and rather than just being like, let's go here because like, meh.
It's also worth saying, now that you bring that up, is like, also I fully understand. Also, again, I eat at chains and stuff. Like I had Crystal Burger today.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, but that discounts your entire point.
I know.
Honestly.
Well, because what I was about to say is like, it's like, also fast food is super cheap. Like the reason that they spread so far and wide is because of all of those things that I find annoying. It's an incredibly efficient business model, and they can make a ton of money, and they can spread that out. And they don't pay their workers very well, and so they can make more money to build more stores. So I don't want it to be like, first of all, I don't have any money, so I can't really be like Richie Rich Boy. But I don't want to sound like Richie Rich Boy, who's like, yeah, everybody should eat artisanal cheese, when it's like, yo, I'm fucking broke, I can't do that. Newsflash, I'm fucking broke too. So like, I get it, and I do eat at fast food restaurants. It's, and you know, I shop at Publix. Well, why? Because it's the easiest one for me to shop at. Like it's, you know, but so there is a level of like class in that, to say like, I understand that if you don't have, first of all, if your town is just a bunch of chains, well, you don't have a fucking choice. So that's how it is.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the model of still like, I mean,
but like,
you know,
but at least hate them. Like that's the thing. It's like,
but I mean, like, even like if you live in a town that's like that, you know,
or you don't have any money,
or you don't have any money, like, you know, I guess like a lesson from this is like, you know, you can make that your place. Like you can learn who the people are.
Sure.
Like,
yeah, it's not all about eating at restaurants.
Yeah. Or like if you're there enough, like, and like that will make it seem like more of a community. The community is more like disjointed and like more like those are just the opportunities that are presented,
right.
But that doesn't mean it takes away. Cause like another thing that I don't want to come across is like, you know, people that work in those sort of jobs, or it's like, well, they're just like nameless people too.
No, I don't think. I think they're treated that way. I don't think that they are, but I think they're treated that way by large corporations.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, in a way of combating that is to, like, if that is kind of your lot in life, is to make those your places, if you can, you know.
Well, and also, like,
even though it's even like most of the people that are in those positions are transient, like back in the days when I worked at Starbucks, like I knew the customers' names,
right.
Like I knew who they were,
right.
Like I knew people by their drink, I knew people by like their jobs and whatever, and so like like those were, like, for better or for worse, the customers that I remember to this day. And, you know, to some degree, like, Starbucks was like their place. Like, yes, they could have gone to Spencer's or like any of their local coffee shops, but
that was
like,
the only one in the town. So
yeah.
What? Okay, but
not anymore. That's for damn sure. They're popping up all over the place.
I thought they just built 3 Starbucks. Is there a second local coffee shop?
There's a second and a third local coffee shop.
Damn.
And my dad, ever the contrarian, has chosen one of the not Spencer's ones as like, this is my place. And I'm just like, Dad, come on, like, just like give the gold to the gold medal.
Yeah.
Like,
also, it's a great coffee shop.
Yeah, it's like, you don't. But anyway, maybe I think he's doing it to be contrarian.
That's
like
fine.
He's not doing it to be like, oh, this is better tasting. It's like, come on.
No one can tell the difference in coffee. And the other, and like not what I'm trying to say, because I'm trying to say a lot, but a thing that I'm trying to say is, like, it's a matter of class solidarity. Like, I think sometimes when you describe systems like this, it's like people get to the end and they're just like, well, that's capitalism. And it's like, yeah, but I'm saying it's bad. Like, yes, I agree with you. Like, yes, it is. Yes, I'm saying that's bad. That's a bad aspect of capitalism, or like that's a bad aspect of the market. Like, I understand that there are people who don't have money and who don't have enough money to go eat at local restaurants or whatever, or the night, you know, all the local restaurants.
Yeah, or that's like, you know, your community is like, yeah.
I understand that situation. Can we all agree that that's not good though? Like, I would prefer it to be the other way, and you would probably prefer it to be the other way too. And you and I are on the same team, and we can agree that, you know what I mean? Like, instead of your identity being, well, you're the kind of person who goes to McDonald's, it's like we can agree that, like, you and I are the same, and McDonald's is on the other side of it. Does that make any sense what I'm trying to say? Like, just because I don't like McDonald's, I'm not saying you're bad because you go to McDonald's. I'm on your side. Or if you work at McDonald's, like, I'm on your side.
Yeah.
I'm also mad at your boss. Like, this is solidarity. Like, we are together. We are both working class, and like the corporate McDonald's destroying your identity. I'm not saying that you are bad for working there. I'm saying they are bad for treating you like that. I must get off this call.
Oh, yeah. So, we've run a bit long on this one, which is, you know, good. We tackled some serious stuff. Next week we'll have more. We started this one by saying we're gonna have jokes, and we certainly did not.
We did not. 2 goof 'em ups. We'll do 2 script doctors or fucking whatever.
We'll have a surprise guest appearance from maybe one certain secret agent next week. Ooh. And also some more saving 1985. So
it's 1984, but whatever.
You know, we'll save 1985 too.
Yeah,
we'll get to that one. That's our sequel series for when we just really blow up.
Okay.
Anyway, that's all we have. Thank you so much for listening to Get Better. You can find us on Instagram at Get Better Podcast. That's get_better_podcast. You can also find us at Meet the Fockers 2, fockedup@gmail.com. And that's all we have. So see you guys next week.
All right.
See you. Bye forever.